want you to hit me as hard as you can.
I'm Lance Velchek for Arrow in the Head's The Black Sheep, where we discuss and defend the genre's most divisive films. I'd argue that the modern Japanese horror boom, in the US of course, came about in the early 2000s. I was in high school when the remake for The Ring was released and fondly remember a packed theater with a passionate audience. Films like The Ring, The Grudge, and Dark Water all tried to capitalize on the Japanese craze. And to be honest, I sort of missed the boat on these and got into them much later. We recently got the inevitable remake of The Grudge, and as of this recording, I'm not sure if this trend will bounce back or sink like the Black Christmas parody we got in December. And that brings me to today's selection, Mirrors. Flashback to 2008, and we are at the end of the J-horror trend. And so a loose remake of the Korean film Into the Mirror was released to try and capitalize before the money well dried up. And normally remakes fail more than they succeed, though I could argue in favor of more than a few. Mirrors came and went without much of an impact, opening in 4th place. Though it did better overseas, the US audience just didn't bite. Even I ignored it at first, but over the years, it has chipped away at my cold exterior, and I can now say it has a lot more going for it than most would admit. I was into the new French extreme era of films back in the early 2000s, which I feel gets unfairly grouped in with the US torture porn genre. Close? Sure, yeah. But in terms of quality of outcome, not a fucking chance. French filmmaker Alexandre Aja, and since I'm from the Midwest and I don't speak French, please don't comment how I can't say that name correctly, I am trying here. Don't at me. Alexandre Aja came to fame with the amazingly tense and gory High Tension. Let me side quest here real quick. High Tension has a silly ending, yes, and that could and should undermine a weaker film. But the strength of the directing, the acting, effects, and cinematography keep this a modern classic. Yes, I said it. High Tension is a modern classic. And even after the twist, spoilers, but Mary is actually the killer, we still get one of the best stalking sequences put to film. The chainsaw death so amazing, Bruce Campbell would stand and notice. After High Tension and The Superior Hills Have Eyes, that is vastly better than Craven's original, and that's a hill I am willing to die on, no pun intended. So after those two films, Aja decided to do a loose remake of a Korean ghost story, and so we got 2008's Mirrors, a film that even to this day is slightly out of his comfort zone, dealing more with a mystery and atmosphere than brute force. The thing is, Alexandre Aja has a great eye and takes what is essentially a run-of-the-mill ghost story and gives it a unique visual identity. After an officer-involved shooting, Ben Carson is put on leave and has taken up the drink. We now find Ben sober and taking a night watch job at a fire-damaged department store in hopes of getting his shit together, then fixing his relationship with his estranged wife. So the mirrors in the department store are haunted and start displaying odd and disturbing things. And that's it, that's a setup. And with most ghost stories, there are threads to pick apart. Things are conveniently found and pieced together, and solving the mystery seems to be more luck than anything, while nobody ever leaves anywhere. You'd best just assume everyone here loves New York enough where the inconvenience of moving is worse than death. See, this is actually why Sinister has one of my favorite parts from any horror film. Where Ethan Hawke says, "F*** this," and moves his entire family way the hell away from the house.
Oh, you're freaking me out here.
Get the kids, pack the car, we have to leave. Go!
Deal with some of the dumber decisions here, and you're gonna have a good time. What could have easily turned into a PG-13 bore, Alexandre Aja opts to put your head into a vice with the tension here.
Fuck me, you motherfucker! Fuck my mother!
There are a handful of scenes that actually left me feeling a bit unsettled. I mean, nothing is scary, but what is at this age? Yeah, but a couple times during this movie, I was like, it's kind of creepy. This girl shaking, and then reaching for help. Or even just this reflection on the TV. And though nothing is necessarily surprising, I never felt like this movie went the cheap route and didn't waste our time with fake-out jump scares. How the mirror visions were presented had a sense of style. And even predicting the ghoulish visions, it still was successful, and at times unnerving. A lot of this has to do with the great set design and how this was shot. I mean, look at this. This place is beautiful, basically styled after a haunted house. I would have lasted all of 5 minutes in here before I would have quit. I ain't walking around this damn place at night, haunted or not. As your main set piece, go big or go home, and they utilize the hell out of it. And in terms of spatial understanding, you never lose the sense of where you are. I love that there's even a mental institution in the underground, something you don't see as much nowadays, and honestly I wish that subgenre would come back. The real strength of Mirrors lies in its atmosphere. This has far more CGI than Aja's previous films. I can say that the few times this film does get gory, we get some good practical effects. As far as the CGI goes, it's not terrible and holds up better than I thought it would. From the Frighteners type of ghost reveals, to the scene stealer where Ben's sister Angela rips off her jaw. Watch this, as it encapsulates Aja perfectly. And yes, a great mix of practical and CGI. And not to mention, it's one hell of a unique kill. Jack Bauer himself, Kiefer Sutherland, holds everything down. Though I'm sure these other actors have done well elsewhere, the supporting cast here are not great. Amy Smart is underused, and Paula Patton emotes well enough, but she comes off a bit wooden with the dialogue.
How dare you say that to me? I was the only one at the precinct who defended you. How many times did I chase reporters off our front lawn? How can you say that to me?
Yeah, it's hard to tell if it's the script or the acting, but this keeps it from being a higher tier horror film. Kiefer was born to play a grumpy cop and owns it here, even with the predictability. He has such a presence that you can't help but become invested. I damn near cackled when he threatened the nun.
My family's not dying tonight. You were coming with me.
I'll pray for you.
I'm going to pray for you.
It just won't suffice. I tend to read a few negative reviews on the films I'm discussing, because though I like it, I'm always curious to see the popular narrative. After piecing together a few clues and finding out that the department store was built on top of a creepy looking nut house, it's a film, don't get offended, we get a third act reveal, sort of twist. And it seems that this is what most take issue with in their reviews. Okay, so the whole film, Kiefer is trying to discover the source of the mirrors and to appease them by finding the mysterious Essaker. During the third act, we discover the key to all of this is the missing Anne Essaker, who turns out was possessed as a child. This makes Mirrors go from a tense ghost story into an action/possession film. Okay, now I agree that this reveal and tonal shift is at odds with the film, and almost seems like a rewrite than an ending point we've been building towards. But I really like the execution here and how it goes balls to the wall. And though it tosses out any semblance of suspense, what we get is an ode to the Evil Dead. Then this becomes an action film. Yeah, that's a deadite, if I've ever seen one. This is enjoyable, this is fun. And again, I agree, it doesn't fit what came before. Mirrors wasn't changing the film landscape to begin with. So Mirrors may not be the best from the director and didn't break any new ground in 08, and it sure as shit ain't breaking any new ground right now. But seeing Alexandre Aja tackle the supernatural with a ton of spooky imagery gives this a leg up against any ghost or demonic stories from that era. The possession angle was interesting, and though it killed any hopes of a creepy ending, I could always get down with some action. Mirrors may not be on the same level as some of Aja's other work, but I do think this is a great introduction as it has all of his key distinctions, and overall it's pretty damn enjoyable. And if this review does one thing, please watch The Hills Have Eyes, Piranha 3D, and High Tension.